Hey everyone, today we'll be discussing intermittent fasting and how it might affect the health of gut microbiota. But first, let's understand what intermittent fasting actually is. It is voluntary. It's a conscious decision to abstain from eating food or consuming calories for a set period of time. Intermittent fasting can be carried out in more ways than one. Some people choose to refrain from eating for several hours at a time. For example, food and beverage is consumed within a short window of time, say 8 hours, and then no food or beverage is consumed for the remaining 16 hours of the day. Another form of intermittent fasting is when a person chooses to refrain from or largely restrict calorie intake for a day or several days at a time. For example, one might consume severely limited calories for 2 or more days of the week and an unrestricted number of calories for every other day of the week. Or alternatively, one might abstain completely from food every second day and eat regularly every other day of the week. These are just a few examples of a number of different regimens that would be considered intermittent fasting, all of which require some sort of voluntary calorie restriction. We're going to look at the benefits of intermittent fasting specific to the health and functioning of gut microbiota. So therefore, we also need to answer the question, what is gut microbiota? The human body, as well as animals, are loaded with trillions of microorganisms that fall into a number of different categories, such as bacteria, fungi, and archaea. These microorganisms live both inside and outside the body. However, the vast majority live within the GI tract, namely the intestines, and make up what we know as the gut microbiota. There are over 1,000 known species living within the GI tract. These bacterial species can be divided into different subcategories known as phyla. Some of the most common phyla found in the human gut are the Firmicutes, Actinobacteria, Proteobacteria, and Bacteroidetes. Together, these bacteria work to create what is known as the microbiome, which is said to have substantial involvement in human health and disease status. Research also shows that every person has a different gut microbiota composition. However, no matter the composition, every human microbiome works to serve the same purpose, influencing several physiological areas such as digestion and fermentation of polysaccharides, development of immune system, defense against infection, vitamin synthesis, and storage of fat, just to name a few. Now that we know what intermittent fasting and gut microbiota are, it's not hard to see that they have something in common. Both are predominantly associated with the same physiological system, the gastrointestinal system. And so it would make sense that significant changes to eating regimes, such as fasting, may potentially have quite an effect on our gut microbiota. But what does the research say? Firstly, a healthy microbiome is one with a rich diversity of microbiota, whereas a composition with lower diversity, a state known as dysbiosis, is said to be associated with health problems and disease. A study conducted by Signorella et al. Found that intermittent fasting had a profound impact on the gut microbiome composition and abundance, with particular enrichment of beneficial bacteria. Another group of researchers, Lee et al., ran an experiment using mice and found that intermittent fasting leads to a shift in gut microbiota composition, which resulted in an increase in white adipose tissue browning, promoting weight loss, and improving obesity-associated health problems. Liu et al. Also ran a study on mice, focusing on how intermittent fasting might affect the microbiome to potentially alleviate diabetes-induced cognitive impairment. They found intermittent fasting to have significant neuronal effects, including reduced cognitive impairment through the restructuring of gut microbiota. An article written by Mesnage et al. Nicely discussed possible reasoning as to why fasting has such an impact on gut microbiota. They explained that when the GI tract experiences a reduction in external nutrient supply, this actually gives the digestive tract an opportunity to rest and restructures the cells of the GI tract, resulting in several physiological changes, such as atrophy, altered gut motility, altered total intestinal mass, and a change in gut microbiota composition. They explain that because gut microbiota is so heavily dependent on the diet composition of its host, us, the human body, a reduction in food intake triggers a microscopic energy crisis, which they believe to inevitably play a role in gut microbiota changes. There is almost an overabundance of research articles out there which support the notion that 1. A diversity in gut microbiota composition is associated with better health and defense against disease, and 2. That intermittent fasting has the ability to bring about the change in gut microbiome, helping to increase microbiota diversity. Considering that intermittent fasting is safe, having been practiced by many different cultures and religions for hundreds of years, and also considering there are a number of ways that intermittent fasting can be conducted, the major health benefits that can come from fasting far outweigh any associated disadvantages, such as feeling a bit hungry. Therefore, intermittent fasting is very much a worthwhile option for anyone looking to improve their health via improved gut health.